Alright, so this is a suggestion via Patreon. The name of the video is Kamala Harris is not black. She's lazy and flirts to get what she wants. Oh no, that title is interesting, right? I mean, obviously, she's part black, I think, right? Allegedly, at least. I have no idea. Who cares, guys? But the thing is, well, I guess black women care. They care a lot because they're going to vote for her exclusively. But that's not the point here, right? Let's go ahead and jump into this immediately. Let's see where this takes us, guys. All right, let's just go ahead and do this. Coming from the channel, The Art of Dialogue.
But I gotta ask you about Kamala Harris. How you feel about her?
This is Judge Joe Brown. Let's get it.
But I gotta ask you about Kamala Harris. How you feel about her?
She's a piece of shit.
Oh.
I was in California.
Oh.
She lacked professional competence, and she worked on it by hiking up her hemline when she needed influence rather than researching. I was out in California for 15 years doing my show when she was at her peak, and she had a reputation amongst the trial lawyers of being lazy. She just hike her skirt up and try to flirt, and she wasn't that good in the courtroom, if not pretty bad in the courtroom. So I'm not surprised at what she does. She's 60 years old, and I think listening to her word salad and the way she talks, I think she's got early onset dementia and also some problems with menopausal complications. You see, today is going to be tomorrow, so since it's going to be tomorrow, today we have tomorrow, which is why we are now.
I'm gonna go on the ledge here and say that Judge Joe Brown doesn't like Kamala Harris, because that's just where I'm at. I'm gonna believe that because everything he's saying is just pure literal hatred for this woman.
Like, what did you say? They have something in mind, but they cannot cognate getting all the way through it, which is why she's famous for this word salad garbage, and she doesn't make a bit of sense. I think since she's only 60, she's actually on a worse track than Biden was. Biden is 20-some years older than her, and he has been senile for a long time. Now, about 5 or 6 years ago, when did they start ramping up to do this?
Oh, my God.
2019. Okay, I was saying Biden has been a failure his whole adult career, a second-rate, third-string player. He's in the game, so he wants to make a name for himself. I considered him for years urban trailer park trash.
Urban?
And he's a crook.
Right.
He's a third stringer. Now, what I said he was going to do is he probably wants to claim fame for being the first person to see to it that a woman got to be president. And what I predicted, I'm slightly wrong on it, was that he was going to get in, try to get elected, and if he got one term, try to get elected for a second one. And then halfway through his term, when he had served 2 years, to retire or resign in her favor. So under the 22nd Amendment, what happens is she can serve for the final 2 years for somebody and then be elected twice more. So that woman would be able to serve 10 years, second only to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who got elected to 4 terms before they put the amendment in place so you couldn't. Now, that said,
oh my God,
I think, and my major at UCLA was political science. My analysis is they picked the weakest somebody they could as a figurehead, somebody who had some apparent minority status, which she does not. And what goes on is that you get her, everybody that is everybody would be afraid to go against her because of what she can pass herself off as. And then you get somebody that's easy to control because she's lazy, because she is becoming incoherent, and because she's always tried to do the casting couch to get where she wants.
Yo, he's not letting up. He's not letting he's not letting up at all. And obviously, based off of his absolute immense vocabulary, he has the ability just to completely eviscerate her over and over and over again based off of his vocabulary, obviously. What it sounds like he's saying is that the reason why this is all happening the way it's happening is because Hillary basically lost, right? And so they had to basically come up with a way to make it so didn't matter who it was, it just had to be a woman of color, basically, is what he's basically saying here. Doesn't matter what they represent, doesn't matter what they've done, none of these things. Doesn't matter their overall policies, their ability to articulate said policies, nothing, none of that matters. What matters is that they are a woman and they are a POC. That's it. That's it. All right, let's go.
She's tried to do the casting couch
The casting
to get where
couch
she
is-
wants.
It's crazy.
Now, the
Yes.
problem is that'll get somebody to a certain level quickly. But you
Okay.
can't get past that level if you don't have competence and talent.
Right.
So my thing about it is if I'm crude about it, in this city years ago, I used to represent a whole bunch of pimps and hoes, and I know a hoe when I see one.
Yo. Okay, Judge Joe Brown.
And I say this, I don't care, women, you do what you want to do if you
Right, live
want to
your
have
life.
recreational sex, but when you do the casting couch or anything else for professional purposes to get paid or advance, you a hoe. And she's old hoe. And
Old
the
one.
problem is what is she supposed to do? Somebody, one of her sycophant slaves comes up and unwraps her in a carpet naked at Putin's feet, and he says, "Oh yeah, I'm Julius Caesar." He said, "No, I got better stuff here already. Plus, I don't want you anyway, you old woman."
bro, we got like 19 minutes left of this.
Get
This
on
man-
up. You know, or Xi Jinping, is he supposed to be impressed? She's doing word salad. Well, we're here today because China and the U.S. are here today, and that's why we have to agree on what we're doing here today. Like, fool, what did you just say? Did you say anything? And I've never seen such a salacious mess as I've seen out of her. I think of One West Bank. I had some pretty good properties out in California at one point in time. And I know I had 3 neighbors who had good properties. It was in a place called Ojai, California. And they got caught up about 15, 16 years ago, like a lot of people did in that mortgage bundling scam stuff that was going on.
Right.
And there was a bank called One West Bank responsible for it, which was owned by George Soros. The Mnuchin that you have out of the Obama administration was Mnuchin, who was the CEO of One West Bank. Well, there were approximately 1,200 counts of indictments returned against Mnuchin and One West Bank in various counties in California. Well, Mnuchin and Soros financed and arranged and sponsored Kamala to run for Attorney General of California. They got her elected. She got in, and using the authority she had, she promptly consolidated all 5,200 counts and dismissed them. And a couple of weeks later, Soros sold One West Bank for $4.2 billion. So after that, they got together and got her finance and got everything organized and made the connections for her, and she got elected to U.S. Senator. Willie Brown made the initial contacts and arrangements so she could get elected as district attorney for San Francisco. She didn't do a very good job. She had a reputation for giving out the stiffest sentences in the United States of America for simple possession of marijuana in San Francisco, for God's sakes. But it was only to young black men. She's not a parent, never had any children, but she went off on this campaign to lock parents up, some of whom actually were shown to have dropped their children off at the school, but they played hooky, so she was putting them in jail.
Yep, that's the big scandal, guys. Right? I mean, but I didn't know about the other one. but yeah, there are a couple of scandals going around.
I know my in-laws, now late in-laws, because they're dead, and their fine daughter that I was married to, we were divorced. She got a whole lot of money, but anyway, out of me. What wound up happening was there was a liquor store they like to patronize on the way home, and it was a good liquor store, but it got held up a lot. So Kamala's solution was not go get the crooks, but close down the liquor store so nobody would be troubled by it. See, that kind of philosophy, or you've got a serial killer who's got 6 victims, and the families are writing protest letters to her, not hurry up and do something, not why you giving the guy such a light deal, is why don't you let this man plead guilty to life without parole instead of delaying it for 7 years, trying to make political hay out of it. I was caught up in a thing where this woman who was supposed to be a financial specialist wound up embezzling a lot, $1.5 million from me, about $15 million from some other black celebrities.
Wow.
And
dude.
most of it was in the San Francisco area, not LA where I was. She consolidated the cases up there in San Francisco, took 5 years to resolve it, let her plead out not the $15 million of embezzlement, but $35,000. The sentence was 5 years in the penitentiary, 4.5 years suspended, 5 years probation. The woman wound up sitting on a bench outside Sybil Branch, which is the women's detention facility in L.A. County, for 5.5 hours. That's all the time she served, made no restitution. And la-di-da, I'm through with it now. I don't care on her behalf. Like, where's our money? You know, what did you do here?
Right.
You didn't even consult with us. You did this on a surprise basis. That's $15 million gone. What happened? It's the kind of thing she would do, see. So it's
like a gender issue? Guys? It feels like it may.
It's like
preferential treatment, it seems.
That was not a good professional performance. And then she was everybody's favorite Hindu Indian prosecutor and attorney general and senator, and now she becomes black. But, you know, I met her daddy, fine gentleman, Professor Harris. And the problem with her being black is Professor Harris says he's Caucasian, mixed Irish and Hindu. He doesn't have any black ancestors, but his Irish ancestors owned a lot of slaves in Jamaica and had them to work on plantation. So if mama is on the birth certificate listed as a Caucasian, daddy says he's a Caucasian Hindu and has no black ancestors, how did she get to be black?
Oh, Judge Joe Brown. That's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings. Yeah, that's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings right there.
Now, a little side story. When I had my show, let's say this has been 26 years ago, I had 2 beautiful women that I thought were sisters on the show. And they laughed one time when we all went to a happy hour and said, "You think we're black, don't you?" "Yeah, aren't you?" "No, we're Hindu." One of them said, "My mother's a Hindu Brahmin caste, and my father was Hindu warrior caste. He took an oath to the family to protect her. They fell in love, eloped, and now we got a death warrant on us. We can't go back to India." So, yeah, and then they gave me 2 books. The guys were Hindu, and they were very dark, but they cut their hair off close, grew beards, and started dressing and acting black, and they got financial aid. One of them, I think, went through medical school that way, masquerading for being black. Somebody else did it, so...
But that right there is not uncommon. There's a couple of people who have done that publicly.
She went to Howard, and by the way, she told one big lie when she was talking about she got bust because of something Biden did when she was running against him. Well, the yearbook that she put out there that you can still get online from her high school in Canada shows she went from kindergarten through 12th grade in Canada, never went to school in the United States of America. She was born, by the way, in the same hospital that my ex-wife was born in, the same 12-month period, and my late mother-in-law was in fact a pediatric nurse in that hospital when Kamala was born. And the birth certificate that she has is interesting because the confusion comes from a mistake. On the birth certificate, it lists the mother's race as Caucasian, national origin India, and religion Hindu.
Okay.
For the father, it does not list national origin. It does not list religion. It does not list anything about that, but where it says race, they put
black.
national origin in Jamaica by mistake. Now, if you've ever
Guys,
been to Jamaica and you go over to see
I want to see a birth certificate.
in Jamaica,
That's going to be like that's going to be a big thing. I know it, right? Same thing with Obama. I'm sure. I'm 100% positive there are going to be calls for her birth certificate multiple times now. 100%. Oh, yeah.
by mistake. Now, if you've ever been to Jamaica and you go over to St. Elizabeth Parish, you see all the high, bright, and white that
Bro, what?
live in
What you
Jamaica.
talking about?
So I've got a good friend retired from law enforcement. He has a white wife, blonde-haired, blue eyes, but she was born in Jamaica. Her parents were born in Jamaica. One's blonde and blue-eyed, the other one's red-haired and gray-eyed. And they happen to be related to the King of England because they are aristocrats in England, but they were born in Jamaica. So if you go over there, you see people from Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand,
valid.
Australia, Kenya, South Africa, you name it. It's part of the British Commonwealth, and nobody needed a passport, and you could just go in and out. So it's not unusual. You're not black just because you were from Jamaica, and you have a whole lot of white people that never left, and their ancestors owned a lot of slaves. The Maroons went up into the hill country and got themselves free back in the 1840s, but you know, other than that, it is what it is. And
Bro, ask this man how many potato chips were in the bag of Lay's, plain Lay's in 1977. 100% he'll be able to tell you the accurate count.
Jamaica. So just because you're from that country does not mean you are of the black race. So the problem is why don't you go get your daddy to give you an affidavit that you have a black ancestor? And since the only possible claim you have is through your great-grandmother, who he says was a Hindu house servant that just happens to be swarthy, where'd you get your blackness from? See, you're faking it again. I say this after 50 years of experience. The worst human beings you will ever find are career prosecutors. Something slimy about them. They are so turned off by humanity and everything else. They don't care. They're trying to win the game. It is just play to them. They don't give a damn about the people they represent. They just want to win. So they lie, cheat, steal to win the game. And that brings up the other thing, where the Supreme Court of California ordered her to produce the evidence that was exculpating to somebody sitting up on death row that she had hidden. They did that over and over and over again with her hiding this evidence. Now, there are exceptions to this rule with career prosecutors, but if you ever want to sleazy somebody, find yourself a career prosecutor who's never done anything else but that until they have moved up. Now,
Noted.
There have been people like Thomas Dewey, who was a career prosecutor. He got Lucky Luciano, the gangster that set up the mob as a syndicate, a business. He got him and became governor of New York and then an unsuccessful candidate for president twice. You have people like that, and you got Kamala, who was a career prosecutor, and that's essentially all she's done outside of moving directly over into politics. They tend to be crooks. They're not good people. It's like I used to, on the bench, it's like, excuse me, can you approach both of you Do you have any character? Do you realize what you just did? Well, I mean, no, we can't have that. That is not going to be allowed up in here. You do it again, and the court's going to see to it that you get a 10-day paid vacation courtesy of the sheriff. No. See, and that's what I'm looking at. She wants to be chief administrative officer, but she's never been the boss over anything. She was nominally with the Attorney General's office, but you've got all of these egos with all of these people with doctorate of laws who've taken the bar exam, and every one of them in there could run against you in an election and be your boss, and is as qualified technically as you are to run the place. So she's never been the boss in charge of something where she dictated, because what she did in San Francisco and when she got over California is she essentially had somebody else doing it, and she was just a political figurehead.
Right.
So when you come into this situation here, Putin, Russia, Ukraine, those are serious things. They have a lot of nukes. You've got Xi Jinping, and China's got one hell of a huge army, air force, nukes, computer systems, and so on. What is your experience in international diplomacy?
None.
You got made the representative of the country to handle the foreign affairs. You failed so badly they yanked you out when you were actually the boss in charge. The borders are. You just complete abject failure to that.
And never even went.
Your only appearance down there was to sit in a chair in the desert while they interviewed you, trying to be cute, flashing your pearls, and you didn't do your job. So you're talking now about you want to legitimize 20 million aliens who've come in here and see that they get fast-tracked so they can vote and become part of the whole process. What are you doing? Whose jobs are you taking away? What about the people that actually lined up to go through the rules? I want to become a citizen, so I take the courses. See, nobody's checking. They've got an outbreak of hepatitis. They got an outbreak of measles. HIV is ramped up. They've got all kinds of things. They've got problems with strains of tuberculosis that have no cure. So people before they come down with it, you have to put them on prophylactics for the rest of their life so they don't get a fatal illness that nobody can cure.
Yeah, he's talking about the cases that are actually going through, I think, Illinois currently.
So nobody is running the medical test. Nobody is checking to see what penitentiary they got out of. And something that is pretty real is a movie. You remember Al Pacino in Scarface? They dumped all their penitentiaries, and they're over here. You got all of these Latino gangs that have now infiltrated. You've got
Tren de Aragua from Venezuela.
These Latino gangs that have now infiltrated.
And also MS-13, but mainly he's referring to, obviously, Tren de Aragua.
Here, you got all of these Latino gangs that have now infiltrated. You've
New
got
York, specifically.
Ukraine. You've got Gaza. You've got people that hate the fact that they don't have technology to shoot down a B-1B bomber. So what do? They just walk across the damn border. Nobody's checking them.
Ooh.
Somebody is giving them free transportation without even vetting their luggage.
Absolutely.
And in the luggage, they have military-grade explosives, which over the last several years, I'm sure they put in various building structures, hospitals, subways, and everything else. And on command, they flip the switch, and 911 looks like a Boy Scout meeting. So what are you going to do about these things? Nobody's checking. You have a situation right now that has to be taken into context. Just about every major seaport is using these container removal cranes, these giant gantry cranes. They're made in the People's Republic of China. Nobody checked them, and now they went back and did, and there seem to be some things built into them that they can't remove. Don't know what the function is, but they appear to be communication devices. What the hell are those? So you want to shoot down a B-1 bomber 56 miles from the southern border, point where there is a huge illegal crossing. There is a U.S. Air Force base where 24 B-1 bombers stage out of. You can just surround a damn base with some RPGs and take a few of them out. We don't have but 24 of them that are operational, and some other was in long-term storage because we can't afford to operate the damn things.
I would love to sit down and have a conversation with this man. I'm just going to be honest. Like, his level of recall is absolutely phenomenal. I think that he's excessively intelligent, literally, because that's just, I think, who he is. He's extremely logical. He's not that emotional, right? He's looking at the big picture rather than just a small virtue signal, guys. I like that. I enjoy this man speaking.
What are you supposed to do? That was your job. Did you do it?
No.
Did you handle it? No. So, you know, they've got this thing where sometimes they promote people up. You know, you fail at a job, but you got a rep, so they can't get rid of you, so they promote you.
Right.
Like, for example, Halsey,
Okay.
Admiral Halsey.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the artist. I don't know who that is.
Halsey, always charged off, was aggressive. Great in World War II, the first part of it. But there was a thing in the Philippines, well, not Philippines, Leyte Gulf. It was a disaster. The Japanese laid a decoy force out. He fell for the trap, took off with all of the warships, left the beaches totally unguarded, told nobody.
Come on, that happened?
And he should have been court-martialed.
Absolutely.
But because of his fame, they couldn't, so they wound up promoting him to 5-star admiral instead of court-martialing him and canceling him. So, I mean, they do this kind of thing. So it's not unusual.
Okay, so basically what he's saying that is, you know, she's failing up, basically.
But I'm just saying, hey, if you're going to bring somebody in, bring in somebody that knows what the hell they're doing. Right. Meanwhile, she had a little rally in Georgia. I think 86 people showed up. That was supposed to be interesting. And she had the nerve to call Vance unpatriotic, and he came back on her big time. He said, simplify, to serve, loyalty. I was in the Marine Corps over in the sand pile, and Trump took a bullet. What the hell have you done? You know, and you want to call somebody out on the subject. See, it's hypocrisy. But you see, I did this because I did what I did, and that's what I did, which is because that's why I did it. Hey, what the hell did you just say? Do you realize what you said? Do you know?
She said nothing. Nothing. Guys, brilliant. I didn't really expect such a, listen, so I've known of Judge Joe Brown for a very long time, right? I mean, obviously he was like a TV show judge at one time, but obviously he comes from a long education base, I guess, of the law, let's say, right? Yeah, I didn't know that he was still like, I'm trying to be nice here. He's getting up there in age, right? I didn't know that he was still there, but he's here. Don't mess with this man under no circumstance, guys. And I would honestly say, listen to him. He seems to know exactly what he's talking about. I based off of the level of conviction that he's speaking in, it doesn't seem like he's speaking to speak neither, guys. All right? But all right, listen, guys, let me know in the comments what you think. I didn't know a lot of this information. I would say a good 90% of it. So now I understand why it was sent to me, guys, right? So you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.